I'm Whitney, 29 years old, and last April, my mother tried to give away my wedding day to my cousin without even asking me first. Imagine this: 47 missed calls lighting up a phone screen at 3 in the morning, a 14-page spreadsheet, showing a total of $83,247, and me standing barefoot on a beach in the Maldives in a white chiffon dress, salt wind in my hair, my husband's hand wrapped in mine, while 200 guests back in Portland, Oregon stood inside an empty ballroom, whispering and wondering where the bride had disappeared to. All of that unfolded between March and June of last year. And I promise you, every single dollar and every small detail matters. Before I walk you through everything, if this story feels familiar to you, take a moment to hit like and subscribe, but only if you truly want to. And while you're there, leave a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is where you are. I really would love to know. Now let me take you back to March, the day I first understood that my family had never really seen me for who I was. My name is Whitney Collier, and for 7 years I was the most dependable piece of financial support my family ever had. Let me paint the full picture. My mother, Diane Collier, 56, worked as an administrative manager at a public high school in Portland. It was a stable job, earning around $54,000 a year. Her older sister, my Aunt Lorraine Holloway, 61, had always acted like the head of the extended family. Whatever Lorraine suggested, Diane agreed with, and whenever Diane needed something, she turned to me. It began with small amounts. In 2017, the year I got my first real job as a financial analyst at Harrove & Ellis Consulting, Mom called about a leaking roof. $400. Then it became $600 for an insurance shortfall. Then $8,500 for a down payment on my cousin Megan's car. She needs it for work, Whitney. You understand how hard things are. Then $12,000 to renovate Mom's basement. Then $7,200 for my younger brother Tyler's certification course. He was 20 at the time, and Mom insisted. The community college would not hold his seat without a deposit by Friday. Every time I paused, the pattern followed the exact same steps. Phase 1, tears. You're the oldest. I have no one else to depend on. Phase 2, silence. No calls, no texts for days, sometimes an entire week. Phase 3, the conference call. Lorraine would join with that soft but disappointed voice. Whitney, sweetheart, your mother is devastated. Is money truly more important than family? 3 phases, 100% success rate, 7 years straight. Around January 2019, I started recording every transfer, every Venmo payment, every check inside. A private Excel spreadsheet. It was a habit from my job, I told myself. I'm an analyst. I track numbers. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't even part of a bigger plan. It was simply the only place where the truth existed exactly as it happened, down to the last cent. I had no clue that one day that spreadsheet would tear my family apart. If I was the family's quiet ATM machine, my cousin Megan Holloway was its shining trophy. Megan was 28, 1 year younger than me, Aunt Lorraine's only child. She worked freelance marketing jobs, her income uncertain, maybe $35,000 in a good year. But you would never guess that by looking at her Instagram. 12,000 followers, carefully styled brunch photos, boutique hotel backgrounds, outfit of the day posts with captions like, "Living my best life." She looked like someone earning 6 figures, and our family treated her that way. At every holiday, dinner and birthday party, Megan was praised like a star. Mom would gently kick me under the table and whisper, "See how Megan talks to everyone? You should try that sometime." Once Aunt Lorraine said in front of 8 relatives, "Megan has real style. Not everyone does, and that's okay." She looked directly at me when she said not everyone. There is one moment that burned into my memory. Thanksgiving 2023. I paid for the entire evening. The venue, rentals, catering, decorations, $3,200. When Aunt Lorraine stood up to give thanks, she smiled warmly at my mother and said, "Diane, thank you for organizing this beautiful dinner." She never even glanced at me, not one mention of my name. I sat there holding my fork and smiled because that was what I had been trained to do. Nathan noticed. We had been dating about a year at that point. On the drive home, he turned the radio volume down and quietly asked, "Did you notice that?" "Nobody thanked you." I had noticed. I had been noticing. For years. I just had not allowed myself to accept what it meant. There is one more important detail about Megan that I did not discover until later that winter. She was carrying $31,000 in credit card debt. Keep that number in your mind. It explains everything that happened next. In October 2024, Nathan Brennan proposed to me. He did it at Pittock Mansion, that beautiful overlook above Portland where you can see the city skyline, the river, and Mount Hood on a clear day. He brought a thermos of my favorite Earl Grey tea. When he knelt on the damp stone path, he did not make a long speech. He simply said, "Whitney, you are the first person who doesn't need to earn love. Will you let me prove that to you every day?" I said yes before he even finished speaking. Nathan was 31, a software engineer at a fintech company downtown, earning about $118,000 a year. Steady, logical, protective, without being controlling. He was the first person outside the Collier-Holloway circle, and because of that, he could clearly see the pattern I had been too close to understand. We chose Ridgewood Estate, an elegant venue just outside Portland, with space for 200 guests, ivy-covered stone walls, the kind of place I had looked at online for years thinking that's for other people, not me. The full package cost $28,000. We signed the contract in November 2024 and paid a 50% deposit, $14,000. The coordinator, Jill Peaton, meticulous and in her mid-40s, the type of woman who triple-checks seating charts, walked us carefully through every part of the agreement. I remember her tapping section 7.2 with her pen. If you cancel at least 8 weeks before the event date, we refund 80% of the deposit. I nodded politely. Why would I ever cancel? This was the first major amount of money I had ever spent on myself without asking anyone for approval. When I told Mom, she said, "Oh, congratulations." Aunt Lorraine's first question was, "How many guests can it hold?" Megan commented on my Instagram announcement with one single word. Cute. After everything I had funded over the years, I got one word. March 12th changed everything. Nathan and I had created a shared email account just for wedding planning. One inbox for vendor quotes, RSVP responses, fabric samples, everything. That Wednesday evening, Nathan was scrolling through florist confirmations when he suddenly stopped and said, "Whitney, you need to see this." It was a forwarded message from Jill Peaton. Her tone was polite but careful. "Hi, Whitney. I received an email from someone claiming to represent your family, asking to add a second reception to your wedding date. I wanted to confirm with you before making any adjustments. Please see the forwarded message below." Under Jill's note was, "The original email from my mother. Dear Jill, I'm Diane Collier, Whitney's mother and family representative. We would like to add a second celebration for my niece Megan Holloway on the same date, sharing the ballroom and dividing the costs. Whitney has agreed to this plan. Please send a revised estimate. Thank you." I read it 3 times. My vision narrowed. Whitney has agreed to this plan. I had agreed to nothing. No one had called me. No one had texted. No one had even hinted at such an idea. My hands were shaking when I called Mom. She answered on the second ring, cheerful as if nothing was wrong. "Oh, sweetie, I was going to tell you. Aunt Lorraine mentioned Megan just got engaged too, and the venue is so lovely, so we thought, why not share it? If you split $28,000, you only pay $14,000. It's a win-win for everyone. Don't be selfish about it. Don't be selfish." The same woman who had accepted over $83,000 from me across 7 years was now telling me not to be selfish about my own wedding. I managed 4 words before ending the call. "I never agreed, Mom." She called back twice. I did not answer. That night, I sat alone at the kitchen table. The apartment was dark, except for the soft blue light from my laptop. Nathan had gone to bed after gently squeezing my shoulder and saying, "Take all the time you need." I opened the spreadsheet. I had been updating it for 6 years. Columns for date, amount, reason, who asked, how they asked, and a notes column. where I sometimes pasted screenshots of the messages that came before each transfer. It began as simple record keeping. Now, scrolling from the first entry in January 2017 to the latest one in February 2025, it looked like something else entirely. I started adding everything together, not the quick way I usually did, but carefully. I moved every line into a summary sheet and let the formula calculate. Basement renovation for mom, $12,000. Megan's car deposit, $8,500. Tyler's certification tuition, $7,200. Thanksgiving and Christmas gatherings for 7 straight years, averaging about $3,500 each year, totaling $24,500. Emergency dental bill for Aunt Lorraine, $3,100. Megan's temporary rent shortfall during a slow freelance month, $4,800. Tyler's car repair after he missed 3 loan payments, $2,900. A family vacation deposit I never attended, $5,600. Smaller transfers labeled urgent, quick help, bridge loan, adding up to thousands more. Line after line, date after date. My 20s measured in wire transfers and polite guilt. When the final total settled on the screen, the number stared back at me. $83,247. I leaned back in my chair and felt something shift inside me. It was not anger at first, it was clarity. Clear and sharp and impossible to ignore. That number represented a down payment on a house. It represented retirement savings. It represented peace of mind. And to them, it had represented convenience. At 3 a.m, my phone started lighting up. First Mom, then Aunt Lorraine, then Megan. Call after call. 47 missed calls by the time the sun began to rise. Texts followed. Why are you embarrassing us with the venue? Jill says she cannot proceed without your confirmation. Megan is devastated. How could you do this to your own cousin? Family supports family. I did not reply. Instead, I emailed Jill. Thank you for checking with me. I did not approve any shared event. Please make no changes to my contract without direct confirmation from me and Nathan only. Her response came within 15 minutes. Understood. Your event remains unchanged. That was the moment something inside me locked into place. For the first time in 7 years, I had not folded during phase 1, 2, or 3. The conference call came that evening. Lorraine's voice was low and controlled. Whitney, sweetheart, this is causing unnecessary tension. Megan has already told people about the shared celebration. She cannot afford her own full reception right now. You know about her debt. Yes, I said. I do know about her $31,000 in credit card debt. Silence. Mom jumped in. That is private information. So is my bank account, I replied. They began talking over each other. About fairness, about generosity, about how weddings are just one day and family is forever. And that is when I finally said something I had never allowed myself to say before. I am not the family bank anymore. The line went completely quiet. I told them I would not share my venue. I would not split my date. And I would not fund anyone else's celebration. If Megan wanted Ridgewood Estate, she was welcome to book her own date and pay her own deposit. The backlash was immediate. Group chats exploded. Cousins I barely spoke to sent long messages about disappointment and selfishness. An uncle told me success had changed me. Mom cried. Lorraine accused Nathan of turning me against them. But something unexpected happened. I did not crumble. 8 weeks before the wedding, after endless tension and passive-aggressive messages, I opened Jill's contract again and stared at Section 7.2. 80% refund if canceled at least 8 weeks before the date. Nathan found me on the couch holding the printed contract. Are you thinking what I think you're thinking? He asked. Maybe, I said. What if we don't give them the show they're expecting? And that is how I ended up barefoot on a beach in the Maldives 3 months later, wearing a white chiffon dress with salt air in my hair and Nathan's hand steady in mine, while 200 guests stood inside an empty ballroom in Portland, staring at untouched centerpieces and an absent bride. But every dollar and every detail of how we got there matters. And I promise, I am just getting started. Grandpa's funeral costs that no one else stepped up to pay, $6,800. Aunt Lorraine's 60th birthday celebration, $4,200. And then the long list of so-called emergencies. A broken heater in the middle of winter, a parking ticket that somehow became urgent, a bridesmaid dress for Megan's friend's wedding that turned into my responsibility, a dental crown for Mom, deposits, late charges, last-minute grocery trips, and more. $20,047. The total cell at the bottom turned bold on the screen, $83,247. I stared at it for a long moment, then opened a second column, amount family has spent on Whitney, and typed a 0. My birthday last year. No one called, no card, no message. No dinner, Mom forgot completely. I heard Nathan's footsteps behind me. He sat beside me, looked at the screen quietly, and didn't speak for a long time. Then, in a low voice, he asked, "What do you want to do?" I didn't answer right away. Not yet. The next morning, March 13th, I called Rosa Delgado. Rosa and I went back to college together. She was 33 now, a family law attorney at a small firm in Southeast Portland, the kind of friend who answers on the first ring at 7 a.m. and doesn't ask questions until you're ready. I told her everything. The venue, the email, the 7 years. The total amount. She stayed silent for about 10 seconds. Then she said, "Whitney, your mother wrote to a third-party vendor and acted like she had your permission. If Jill had made changes based on that message, you could have been legally responsible for contract updates you never approved. That's not just a family issue. That's misrepresentation of consent." The word misrepresentation landed in my chest like something heavy and solid. I had spent my whole life calling it helping out. Rosa was calling it what it truly was. "Save everything," she said. The forwarded email. The original message from Jill. Screenshot your call logs with your mom and Megan. Whatever you decide, make the choice for yourself, not for Diane. I hung up and made 3 phone calls in less than 40 minutes. First, Jill Peaton. I confirmed that the contract had not been changed. Diane's email had caused no updates, because Jill, trusting her professional instincts, had double-checked with me first. Then I told Jill I needed to use Section 7.2, cancellation before 8 weeks. The wedding date was June 14th. We were 13 weeks away, safely inside the allowed window. Jill processed everything that afternoon. 80% of $14,112 was scheduled to return to our account within 10 business days. Second call, a resort in the Maldives I had saved months earlier during a late-night scrolling dream. Seaside Haven. 2-person beach ceremony package. Photographer included. Private villa. 3 nights. Total cost $9,800. Third call, Nathan. He answered, and before I could even explain, he said, "Just tell me when we're leaving." We booked flights for June 12th. Portland to Dubai to Malé. I told no one. 5 days later, on March 18th, I found out just how far ahead of me they had moved. A college friend tagged me in an Instagram story with a heart eyes emoji and the words, "OMG double wedding!" I tapped through, confused, and saw Megan's story. A photo of a cream-colored invitation with gold foil letters. Whitney and Nathan Megan and Derek June 14th, Ridgewood Estate, a double celebration of love. Her caption read, "2 brides, 1 magical night." I zoomed in closer. The fonts were elegant. The design was polished. These were not samples. These were printed invitations professionally made. And according to the comments under Megan's post, 150 of them had already been mailed, to friends, to extended relatives, to my co-workers at Harrove and Ellis, to my manager. 150 people believed I was happily sharing my wedding day with my cousin. 150 people had held that card and thought, how sweet, a shared celebration. I called Nathan, at work. He listened carefully, then said in a steady voice, They printed invitations before you even agreed. That tells you everything about how they see you." He was right. In their world, my agreement was not something they needed to ask for. It was something they assumed already belonged to them. I checked my records. The Ridgewood contract had been canceled on March 14th. Jill had sent a confirmation email on March 15th to the address on file. Mine. The venue was gone. The catering, connected to our reservation, was gone. But my family had no idea. They were building a celebration on a foundation that no longer existed. Rosa's advice echoed in my mind. Not yet. Maldives first. Truth later. So I stayed quiet, and the days kept moving forward. March 22nd, dress fitting. Mom had arranged it, her word, not mine, at a bridal boutique on Southwest Broadway, the kind of store with champagne glasses, near the entrance and mirrors from floor to ceiling. When I arrived, they were already there. Mom, Aunt Lorraine, Megan, 2 other aunts whose names barely matter. Everyone was smiling. Everyone had opinions. Megan went first, 4 dresses. Each one brought loud gasps, applause, phones raised to take pictures like she was walking a runway. "Stunning," Aunt Lorraine said, wiping at her eye. "Absolutely breathtaking, Megan." Spun in front of the mirror, and the whole room revolved around her the way it always had. When it was my turn, Mom said lightly, "Just choose something simple, honey. You're not really the dramatic type." I stepped onto the platform wearing a white A-line gown. Classic. Clean. Beautiful in a quiet way. The room went silent. No phones lifted. No applause. Lorraine studied her nails. Megan glanced up from her reflection and said, in the tone you use for a child's drawing, "Oh, want me to snap a pic for you, Whitney?" I smiled. "Sure." One photo, taken from a low angle, catching the harsh store lighting and half of Lorraine's shoulder. That was my fitting. In the restroom afterward, I locked the stall and sat on the closed lid. I texted Nathan, "I'm okay. 83 days. I'll wear this dress on a beach." "Not here," he replied with one sentence. "Then that dress is going to have the best day of its life." I washed my face, walked back out, hugged my mother goodbye. It was the most careful performance I had ever given, and for the first time in my life, keeping something from my family didn't feel like guilt. It felt like freedom. 3 days later, my phone lit up with a name I didn't expect. Grandma Eleanor. Eleanor Collier was 84 years old, sharp as ever, living at Maple Grove Senior Residence in Salem, about an hour south of Portland. She was Mom's and Lorraine's mother, the woman who had raised them both. She almost never called. When she did, it mattered. "Whitney, sweetheart," she said. Her voice was thin but steady, like old wood in the wind. "I received a very pretty invitation in the mail. Your name and Megan's name together. I just want to ask you one thing." "Okay, Grandma." "Are you happy about it?" I pressed, the phone tighter to my ear. In 29 years, through every holiday meal, every quiet bank transfer, every time I smiled when I wanted to shout, no one in my family had ever asked me that. Not once. Not Mom, not Lorraine, not Megan, not Tyler, no one. Grandma. Eleanor was the first. I couldn't answer right away because my throat closed up. 8 seconds of silence that she didn't try to fill. "Grandma," I finally said, "no one's ever asked me that before. You're the first." She let out a long breath. "I know my girls, Whitney, Diane and Lorraine. They're built like me in the worst ways. Always concerned about appearances. But a wedding is yours, honey. It's not a stage for someone else's performance." I didn't tell her about the Maldives. I didn't tell her the venue had already been canceled. Just said, "I'll be okay, Grandma, I promise." "I believe you," she said, and she meant it. After we ended the call, I cried for the first time since the night I made that spreadsheet. Not from anger, not from frustration, but from the deep relief of being seen by someone who truly cared, whether I was happy. The last week of March, pressure came from every side at once. Mom called every day. Each conversation ended the same way, like a line pulled from the same guilt script I had memorized for years. "If you cancel the double wedding, you're saying you don't respect this family," Aunt Lorraine called next. "If you don't cooperate, I won't attend, and Grandma won't attend either." She used Grandma Eleanor's name like a bargaining chip, and it made my stomach twist because I had just heard Grandma's real voice asking the only question that mattered. Then Lorraine sent an email. Subject line: Family Unity. 3 paragraphs of smooth, polished condescension. "In this family, we share. If you decide to act selfishly, you will separate yourself. Your grandmother is 84 years old. She wants to see her family together. Are you truly going to deny her that?" And then Megan slid into my DMs with a message so perfectly passive-aggressive it almost felt artistic. "Hey, Whit. Just wanted to say I'm so excited about our double wedding. Derek and I are planning the sweetest surprise for you at the reception. Don't worry, I'll handle the decor for our half. You know I have better taste anyway." I stared at the screen for a long time. They had already decided the story. All that was left was whether I would continue playing the role they wrote for me. $83,247. 0.83 days, and a beach waiting thousands of miles away. I screenshotted everything: Lorraine's email, Megan's message, my phone call log showing 19 incoming calls from Mom in 7 days. I dragged every file into a folder on my desktop labeled 2025 March. Rosa had told me to keep all of it saved, and I did. When Mom called again that Sunday night, I kept my voice calm and steady. "I understand, Mom. I'll think about it." What I was really thinking about was a boarding pass dated June 12th and a beach ceremony 9,000 miles away. But she didn't need to know that. Not yet. April 5th, a Saturday. Dinner at Aunt Lorraine's house. 12 people around a long dining table. Lorraine at the head, of course. Mom to her right. Megan and her fiancé Derek Voss sitting across from me. Derek was 30, a real estate agent, a decent enough guy who always looked slightly uneasy at family events, like he had accidentally walked into someone else's reunion. There were 2 other aunts, one uncle, a few cousins, and Nathan beside me, his hand resting lightly on my knee under the table. Lorraine tapped her glass before the salad course. "I'd like to raise a toast to our 2 brides." The room clapped. Megan beamed. I smiled and lifted my water glass. Mom leaned forward across the table. "Whitney, do you want to say something?" 12 pairs of eyes turned toward me. I let 1 second pass. Then I said, "I'm just really thankful for everyone here." It was true, polite, and promised nothing. Megan, though, wasn't finished. She pulled out her iPad and propped it against the centerpiece. "I put together a mood board. Tell me what you all think." She swiped through images: white roses with gold details, a huge floral arch, a custom photo booth, and centered on every frame, Megan and Derek in elegant script. Nathan's and my names appeared once in the bottom right corner of a seating chart sample, 2 font sizes smaller. Nobody said anything about the difference. Maybe nobody noticed. Nathan noticed. I felt his knee press against mine once, firm and sure. On the drive home, he stayed quiet until we reached the freeway. Then he said, "Your name was 3 font sizes smaller than Megan's. I know. So you know you're making the right choice." I stared through the windshield at the rain and didn't answer because I didn't need to. 2 months and 9 days. That was all I had to get through. April and May vanished in a double life I never thought I would live. On the surface, I joined 2 more family planning calls, nodded along in a group text about table linens, and even approved a sample menu Megan sent with a smiley face. Every interaction felt like acting, and I played my role with the careful focus of someone defusing a bomb while pretending it was a birthday gift. Behind the curtain, Nathan and I built our real wedding piece by piece. Our flights were booked. Portland to Dubai, Dubai to Malé, June 12th. Seaside Haven Resort confirmed the 2-person ceremony package. Beachfront at sunset. A local officiant, a soft-spoken man named Ismail, who had performed over 300 beach weddings. A photographer named Amir, who sent sample galleries that made my chest ache with how simple and beautiful everything looked. $9,800 total for 3 nights in an overwater villa, the ceremony, and a private dinner on the sand afterward. The refund from Ridgewood Estate, $11,200, had landed in our joint account on March 28th, exactly on time. Jill Peaton's confirmation. Email sat in a folder I checked twice a week just to make sure it was still there. I quietly messaged about 15 close friends, not family, and told them the wedding plans had changed and I would share details soon. No one pushed. Real friends don't push. I ordered a second wedding dress online, not the A-line from the boutique. That one was too tangled with Lorraine's smirk and Megan's sweet but sharp offer to take a photo for me. This dress was chiffon, floor length, 380s made for bare feet and warm wind. And then there was the spreadsheet. Rosa reviewed every page, cross-checking bank statements I had printed. 14 pages, solid and clear. She converted it to a PDF and said, "You don't have to send this to anyone, but if you ever decide to, it's ready." If. That word carried so much weight. June 14th, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Ridgewood Estate, Portland, Oregon. I wasn't there, but I can tell you exactly what happened because Nathan's friend Marcus was on the guest list. He had received one of the 150 invitations, and he sat in his car across the parking lot and later told us everything, almost minute by minute. Guests began arriving at 3:45, women in soft pastel dresses, men in light summer suits, the lawn freshly cut, the Oregon sun actually cooperating for once. Aunt Lorraine swept in wearing a teal mother-of-the-bride outfit like she owned the entire property. Mom wore lavender. Megan was somewhere inside, reportedly in a $4,200 dress that Lorraine had quietly put on her credit card. By 4:15, people started checking their phones. The ballroom doors stayed closed. No coordinator at the entrance, no welcome table. By 4:20, Mom called me. Voicemail. She called again. Nathan's phone. Voicemail. 3 more tries in 10 minutes. At 4:45, Jill Peaton walked out to the garden where guests stood in growing confusion. She approached my mother directly and spoke in the steady tone of someone who had practiced professionalism for decades. "Mrs. Collier, I need to inform you that the contract with Whitney Collier and Nathan Brennan was canceled on March 14th. According to Clause 7.2, we have no active booking under those names. The venue has been rebooked for a corporate event beginning at 7 p.m. Mom's face drained of color. Canceled? I didn't know about any cancellation. A confirmation was emailed to the address on file on March 15th, Jill replied. You may want to check your spam folder. By 5:00, 200 guests stood on a perfect green lawn with no ceremony, no catering, no music, and no bride. Megan was inside in her dress, mascara streaking down her cheeks, Derek rubbing his forehead beside her, and the venue had given them 90 minutes to leave. Here is what you need to understand about time zones. The Maldives is 9 hours ahead of Portland. So while 200 guests were pulling into the Ridgewood parking lot at 4:09 p.m. Pacific time, it was already 1 a.m. on June 15th where I was, and our wedding had taken place 11 hours earlier. Let me take you there. 5:30 p.m. Maldives time, June 14th. The sun was low and copper-colored, spreading light across water so blue it looked unreal. I stood barefoot on white sand in the chiffon dress, the 381, and my toes sank slightly with each small movement. Nathan faced me in a white linen shirt and khaki pants, sleeves rolled to his elbows. No tie. No show. There were exactly 4 people there. Us, the officiant Ismail, and the photographer Amir, crouching low to catch the evening light. Nathan's vows were short, and they broke me open. You are not anyone's ATM. You don't need permission to be happy. From today on, I am your family, and our family will never run on guilt. Mine were even shorter. I spent my whole life waiting for someone to ask what I wanted instead of telling me what I owed. You were the first person who asked. You are my home. After the ceremony, we ate dinner on the sand. Grilled fish, coconut rice, a bottle of sparkling water because neither of us needed champagne to feel dizzy from what we had done. At 7 p.m., Maldives time, 10:00 a.m. in Portland, I posted one photo to Facebook and Instagram. 2 people on a beach in golden light, barefoot. The caption read, June 14th, 2025. Just us. Just enough. No tags. No explanation. 6 hours before the chaos at Ridgewood even began. Now, before I continue, if you have made it this far and you feel any of this tightening in your chest, I want you to know you are not alone. Thousands of people have sat where I sat, counting what they have given versus what they have received, wondering if they are allowed to say enough. If this story speaks to you, drop a comment, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss what happens next. Because what happened next made everything before it look small. Back to June 14th, 9 p.m., Maldives time. I had turned my phone off for the ceremony and left it off through dinner. Nathan and I sat on the villa deck watching the dark ocean move like slow breathing. For 3 perfect hours, the world was exactly as small as we wanted it to be. At 9 p.m., Maldives time, noon in Portland, I turned my phone back on. It took 45 seconds for the notifications to load. 47 missed calls. 19 from Mom, 11 from Aunt Lorraine, 8 from Megan, 5 from Tyler, 2 from numbers I did not know, 2 from Aunt Linda, 93 text messages. Mom's thread alone showed a full timeline of collapse. The early ones, sent around 3 p.m. Portland time, were confused. Where are you? Everyone is waiting. By 4:30, they had turned desperate. Whitney Collier, call me back right now. By 5, after Jill's announcement, they exploded. You canceled. The venue. Have you lost your mind? And then the final message sent at 5:47 p.m. 8 words that I read twice and will never forget. You are no longer my daughter. We are finished. Lorraine's message was even shorter and colder. You have ruined Megan's most important day. There will be consequences. Megan wrote, How could you do this to me? I am standing in my wedding dress in an empty room. You destroyed my life. Nathan read the messages over my shoulder. His jaw was tight, but his voice stayed calm. You don't have to reply tonight. It can wait until morning. I placed the phone face down on the nightstand. The screen glowed faintly through the wood for a few seconds, then the light faded. I looked out at the ocean, and I want to be honest. I did not feel guilty. I did not feel proud either. I felt something I had not felt in years, maybe not ever. Light. Like something huge had been lifted off my shoulders. The phone rang at 3:12 a.m. I had been drifting in and out of sleep, that strange half-awake state where your body rests but your mind keeps replaying everything again and again. Nathan was fast asleep beside me, breathing slow and steady. The screen lit up with Mom, and I watched it flash 4 times before I answered. She did not say hello. Do you have any idea? She started. Any idea what I went through today? 200 people, Whitney. 200 people staring at me like I was a liar. I wanted to sink into the floor. Her voice sounded rough and worn out, like someone who had been shouting for hours and had nothing left. I sat up in bed. I could hear the ocean. Outside the villa, waves moving in and out like steady breathing. Mom, I never agreed to share the venue. Oh, don't start with that, she snapped. You sent an email to the wedding coordinator pretending I had agreed. You printed 150 invitations with my name on them and never even called me. You turned my wedding into Megan's show. That is because you are selfish, she said. Family shares. You earn good money. What does it cost you to help? Do you really want to know what it has cost me, Mom? $83,247. That is what I have given this family in 7 years. Would you like me to list every single expense? There was silence. 8 full seconds. I counted them in my head. Don't you dare throw money in my face, she said finally, but her voice was lower now. She was not shouting anymore. I am not throwing anything. I am reading from a spreadsheet I have kept since 2019. Every dollar, every bank transfer, every text message where you asked me for money. She ended the call. I set the phone down, pressed my palms against my eyes, and took a slow breath. Nathan's hand found mine in the dark. He did not speak. He did not need to. I had said the number out loud for the first time, and she had no answer. The next morning, June 15th, 5 in the evening Maldives time, 8 in the morning in Portland, I opened my laptop at the desk in the villa. The Indian Ocean stretched out behind the screen, flat and bright blue. I logged into Facebook Messenger and opened the group chat called Call Your Family. 24 members, every aunt, uncle, and cousin old enough to use Facebook, I typed slowly. I edited the message twice before I pressed send. I know everyone is upset. I understand that. But before you judge what I did, I am asking you to read the attached file. It is a record of every dollar I have spent on this family from 2017 to 2025. Every transfer, every receipt, every screenshot of a message asking for money. The total is $83,247. The amount this family has spent on me in that same time period is zero. I am not sharing this to hurt anyone. I am sharing it because the truth deserves to exist somewhere other than my private hard drive. I attached the PDF, 14 pages. Rosa had reviewed every line with me before I left Portland, checking it against my bank statements. Page 1 showed the summary, totals by year, and the grand total in bold. Pages 2 through 13 listed everything in detail. Date, amount, reason. Who asked for it? A small image of proof, a bank confirmation, a Venmo screenshot, a text message. Page 14 was a simple table with 3 rows. Money Whitney spent. On family, $83,247. Money family spent on Whitney, 0. Number of times family said thank you, 0. I pressed send and closed the laptop for 4 hours. No one replied. I watched the read receipts. Increase. 5, 9, 14, 21. But the chat stayed silent. 21 people had read it. Not one person typed a word. At noon Portland time, Aunt Linda finally responded. Oh my God, I had no idea. At 12:15, Uncle Greg wrote, Whitney, I am sorry. This is not right. At 12:30, Mom typed, You are exposing private family matters to everyone. I will never forgive you for this. At 12:32, Lorraine added, This is disgusting. You reduced everything to money. After that, silence again. In that silence, I heard something new. I heard the sound of people who could not argue with numbers. Feelings can be debated. Stories can be twisted, but math stays still. Within 24 hours, the group started to change. By the evening of June 16th, 8 of the 24 members had left the chat. Aunt Linda and Uncle Greg were among the first to exit. 3 cousins I barely talked to left soon after. Then 2 of Lorraine's bridge friends who had been added years ago and probably did not want to be part of the drama. The group that once buzzed with holiday plans and birthday reminders was shrinking fast, like a boat with too many leaks. Megan cleaned up her Instagram page. The story about the double wedding disappeared. The post with the gold foil invitation was gone. But the internet remembers longer than people expect. Screenshots had already been shared in comment sections. Her follower count dropped from 12,000 to 11,400 in 2 days. People were asking questions she could not easily answer. Then something unexpected happened. Nathan's phone buzzed on the second night. Derek Voss. Man, Derek said, and I could hear the discomfort in his voice. I did not know the full story. Megan told me you were completely fine with everything. I feel sick about this. Nathan kept his tone even. I appreciate you calling, Derek. This is not about you. At the same time, Mom posted a public status on Facebook. When your own child turns their back on family, you learn who truly loves you. It got 14 likes and 3 supportive comments. But 7 people asked what had happened. And when someone shared the spreadsheet PDF in the comments, 4 of the 14 likes quietly disappeared.
If you like our video, then subscribe our YouTube channel for more videos.